What's up guys, today we're going over what is possibly the best build in Destiny 2 currently and maybe of all time. This build is just absolutely insane, and it's going to be the Grapple Melee Hunter build. You might have already seen a version of this, but I'm finally getting around to it myself and I've been playing a lot with it in GM. And even if you've already seen this build, I'm going to go into like the nitty gritty, so hopefully there's still something to glean from this video. I'm going to be breaking down a lot of stuff and looking at different options, and just showing why this build is just so strong in really everything in the game. So this build's gonna revolve around Grapple Melee on Prismatic Hunter, and the reason it's so strong now is that a lot of melee things in the game got reworked. First off, things are no longer multiplicative, they're now additive, which means all of the buffs no longer stack and multiply, they just add together, which means across the board for huge combos, they're generally nerfed, but for things with less perks involved, it's going to be generally buffed. And along with that, things like Glaive and now even Grapple Melee work with a lot of melee buffs that they didn't previously work with. So starting off, we have just Grapple Melee, and on the champion in the final range is a hit for 671 and 599, so it's always a hit for these two large numbers. And then from there, we're just going to have like the classic Prismatic Combination Blow loop, which Combination Blow now does increase the Grapple Melee damage, and before we used Winter Shroud for dodging and slowing / freezing targets, but now Ascension procs all of our class ability perks that didn't previously, including Gambler's Dodge. So we can use Ascension instead of Winter Shroud to get our melee back when we dodge, to get our Combination Blow stacks, and Ascension is just a better Winter Shroud. It's going to be better for ad clear, spreading Jolt, just overall way better. So now with Combination Blow times 3, our grapple damage goes up by 400% to 3,207, already quite a lot for a single ability. But now we can also use Stylish Executioner, where coming out of Invis, our melee will do more damage, and this got buffed also to 300%, and for Grapple Melee, it's a bit harder in theory to use Stylish, but in practice, it really isn't. So all you have to do is use your grapple right when you go invis, or like shortly after. There is a little window, and the best way to do this is just to use your Ascension, which will spread the Jolt and generally kill all the red bars near you. And as you do that, just click your grenade button instantly and grapple, and you will go invis right as you start grappling. And that way when you melee, you're coming out of invis and get that damage buff. But as you play more with this build, there's all kinds of ways to time it correctly. You're constantly have unraveling rounds. You can use primaries with like incandescent or destabilizing rounds. There's just a lot of ways to just make sure you go invis right when you grapple. You can just look around. If there's a target that is jolted or has unraveling applied to them, you just simply shoot them and grapple right away and you're good to go. That's like the one thing that you'll kind of get used to as you play, but as you do it more and more, it really is not that hard for just general play. Then we also have Shield Crush from the Artifact, where when we have Woven Mail or Frost Armor, it will increase our melee recharge and our melee damage. Then also when we have one of the light buffs like Radiant or Amplified, our grenade recharges faster and does more damage. And Grapple Melee is one of the unique abilities in the game that receives both melee and grenade buffs and perks. So for all of the region stuff, generally it's going to be grenade, so things like Demolitionist will help get the grapple back, while Pugilist won't. But for damage and for creating orbs, Grapple Melee generally works for both. So we can actually double dip Shield Crush with Grapple Melee, and in this build we will always have Radiant and Amplified, and we should always have Woven Mail or even Frost Armor if you do a certain variant. And looking at all of that, everything going on, our damage now goes up to 5,400 times 2 with the Grapple Melee, which is obviously a lot. And the best way to get Woven Mail is generally with the Navigator, which got buffed this season. When you have Woven Mail itself, the Navigator's damage goes up by 25%, I believe. And when you just shoot at a target or your allies for like a second or two, you'll give yourself Woven Mail for 10 seconds. You could also go the route of Faucet of Purpose, where picking up an orb will give you Woven Mail or Frost Armor if you're on the Strand or Stasis Super. But I don't think this is going to be necessary. I think there's better fragments you can use with your 4 slots. And with everything being additive, losing out on Shield Crush every once in a while isn't that big of deal, so it's not something to really fret over. And now moving on to the exotic class items, which is what you're going to want to use with this build. If you want Wolf of Mail more consistently, the first one you can use is going to be sort of Arachne, where using your grenade will give you the Wolf of Mail. And this will not change the damage that we showed off already, but just make it more consistent to always have that DR. And this will be the best option for just pure survivability and really, really hard content like the raid. And for all of the exotic class items, the other perk we're going to be using is going to be Hoyle, Helm of Inmost Light. And this is for two things. One, getting our grenade back even faster when we use our grenade and class ability with like the classic combination blow loop. We will constantly give our grenade max recharge rate and increase its damage a little bit. So it's by far the best perk to use on that side of the exotic class item. And as we mentioned, the first one you can pair is going to be Sword Arachne. But if you wanted more damage out of your grapple melee instead, you could use Synthoceps, which while we're surrounded by 3 enemies will increase our melee damage. And this one take the grapple melee damage up to 6,500. And this one's be better for just the combination blow loop. Since this is buffing our melee damage, it obviously doesn't work with our base melee also. So this will make it easier to get combination blow stacks up and running. And then increase the grapple melee damage a little bit also. But by far the best exotic class item perk to use that most people wouldn't even consider is actually going to be Verity. And Verity is going to be when you get final blows with weapons matching your grenade element type. You will get improved grenade regeneration, which is very important. It means even more grapples, but more importantly, increased grenade damage up to 100%. And as we mentioned, grapple melee benefits from both melee increases and grenade damage increases. So now with this, even with just death throws times 1, so 1 strand weapon final blow, it's already going to be higher damage. The grapple melee now does 7,600 times 2, obviously quite a lot. And now if we get death throws times 5, which does make it quite a lot to keep track of, because you need combination blow times 3 at the same time, you need stylish. But if you do all that, the damage will go up to almost 11,000 times 2, which is a lot, right? And with the way the death throws stacks decay over time, and how we showed off that just one stack alone is already higher than Synthoceps, Verity is definitely the way to go. Just one stack, which you'll practically always have in this build, is already the best damage. And if you have 2, 3, 4, or even 5, that's just a cherry on top. And not to mention, it's also bonus grenade recharge rate. It's really hard to beat Verity's. But overall, with the 3 exotic class items, once again, you want oil for all of them, right? Then Sword Arachne is going to be the best for survivability. Synthoceps is going to be the best for just your base combination blow loop. And Verity is going to be by far the best for the grapple melee. And since, as we showed off, the grapple melee works for both grenade and melee increases, what stat do you even want to focus for this build? Well, 200 melee is going to be a 30% melee increase, while 200 grenade stat is going to be a 65 grenade damage increase. So since it receives both, obviously 65 is higher than 30, so you want to focus the grenade stat. That's also helpful for just the increased grenade recharge rate, and the way that's on scale with all of the perks helping get our grenade back. So for this build, there's going to be a lot of ways to do this, but just keeping it as easy as possible, what you're going to want is going to be 180 grenade, while you also have 50 melee and 50 class stat. And the reason you need both 50 melee and class stats is for the combination blow loop. How much energy you get back is now based off those 2 stats, right? So if you have less than 70, you will not get your full melee back, and you will not get your full dodge back when you do the loop. So with 180, 50, and 50, we're going to use melee font, and a grenade font, and a class font to add 20 to all 3 of those stats, take them to 200, 70, and 70. And the best way to get armor with this condition is with all 3 of the exotic class items, you're going to have to get 4 legendary pieces with a grenadier archetype. And this archetype has grenade as the primary, super as the secondary, then the third spike is going to be random between the other 4 stats. So you're going to need all 4 pieces with the max grenade, which is roughly 30, or on lower tiers like 29, 28, then use 5 grenade mods for all 5 armor pieces. And if you do that, you'll get to roughly 180 grenade, and you'll be forced into a lot of super also, but there's definitely worse things you could be forced into, so that's not too bad, right? But then for the third stat, you're going to need 2 pieces with class as the third stat and 2 with melee as the third stat. Then if you masterwork all of your armor, you're going to get roughly 50 of both melee and class. So there's definitely a lot going on there. Just quickly recapping, you want 180 grenade, 50 class, and 50 melee. And the best way to do that is just have 4 Grenadier archetype armor pieces, 2 with melee as the third, and 2 with class as the third. And you should be able to get those stats with that setup. Then looking at the rest of the build, we have Dawn for Radiant, and we have Bravery for the Unraveling Rounds for our Navigator, and if we use the Void Weapon, Volatile Rounds. Then we also have Courage to get the increased Arc, Solar, and Void damage to enemies afflicted by Darkness debuffs, plus 10 Grenade on that too, which is very important. Then we have Balance for getting both of our melee and grenade back a little bit faster. Then looking at our mods, we have the dual Siphon for Solar and Strand. Then we have Hands On, then whatever extra thing you want. We only have like 2 energy left over. Then we have Melee and Grenade Font. Heavy Handed to create orbs, Charged Up, Arc Resistance, Void Resistance, or whatever generation perks you want, Stacks on Stacks, Innervation, Absolution, the class font, Bomber, and Reaper. Another way to create orbs. So as you do the combination blow loop, you definitely need to pick up the orb you create to get the fonts going to boost up our stats. And with Stacks on Stacks, you should have enough time on that until you create another orb. And with this build, I like to use the hand cannon, either something with incandescent or destabilizing rounds, because Unstoppable is hand cannon this season, and we have built-in anti-barrier with Radiant and Overload with the Ascension and Jolting. So you just need Unstoppable, and that's where the hand cannon comes into play. And the other thing to note from the artifact is we have Elemental Overdrive to have another damage increase for our Navigator. And another weapon you could use is just 1-2 punch on a shotgun. And with everything being additive for melee increases, it's not that big of a deal. But if you do, that's just another thing on top of this that makes it even more damage. So with Verity's ×5, 1-2 punch, everything going on, now hits almost 13,000 ×2 with a grapple on the champion, which is a lot. That's like 2 Thunder Crashes, right? And the final thing you could do, which is kind of unnecessary for everything but like true in-game bosses, is use the infinite Navigator grapples. And if you remember the old broken Hunter build, you can do the same thing with Tether. You tether the boss and shoot your shotgun to proc 1-2 punch, and the shared damage of the tether itself will make you go invis. So that's something you could do, but for like 99% of the game, it's completely overkill, but it's something worth knowing. So overall, there is a lot going on in this build, but as you actually use it, it's a lot simpler than it sounds. And with the way all the melee buffs are additive now, it's not too important if you're missing out on like 1 or 2 or even like 3 of the buffs. Before, when they were multiplicative, if you're missing 1 like 50% buff, I mean, with the way it multiplied, that actually ended up being like 10x, 20x less damage, right? But now with them all being additive, you know, losing a 100% buff isn't that big of a deal, right? So even though it seems like you need all of these things going on at the same time, you really don't. For the most part, just combination blow ×3 is gonna be enough damage with a grapple melee to like one-hit champions, right? So a lot of this is like pure overkill, but when you do use all the things at once, I mean, you're just like truly one-hitting most bosses in the portal, and really everything outside of like raid and dungeon bosses. It is absolutely wild. Not to mention all of the prismatic keywords that you have going on at all times. So you have all the DR of both Amplified, Wolfamail, and potentially even Frost Armor if you want, while also being Radiant. You can have Jolt, Unraveling Rounds, Volatile, or Scorch. Any 3 of those 4 active at all times. So even for Aclear, it's still insane. And yeah, it's just crazy. Anyways, I think that is gonna be it for the video. Probably was a long one, a lot of information to absorb. Like usual, I will link the build down below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.